for me to visit my father's alma mater, and it gave me great pride to actually share with your principal and Swamiji that he was a part of this college. So from what Swamiji said, a few thoughts came into my mind, and I would like to share with you. This is something that your principal also mentioned, that we are part of nature. Now, that is a very important thing because there is no us and nature. We are part of it. So when we say, let's go into nature, it's almost as if we are, creating a wall between something which we are a part of, which is there everywhere. If you're talking about all the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, whatever is there, it's all part of us. We are part of it. So, and the same thing is there, the component of all plants, animals, everything that is around us. The soil has that. So this is something which I think we should always be aware of. When we have something which is going to influence nature adversely, we have to remember that we are part of it, and anything that we do against nature, we are affecting ourselves too. So that is something we have to remember. And Swamiji said 3.5 acres, but from my experience, that is more than enough for butterflies, because as you have plants here, that's enough for those few butterflies to be there. And so most of what I will be talking to you about is based on my observations of butterflies on my college campus. So you must remember that we are living in an urban setting. And just as what that title says, concrete jungle. So this is what we have made out of our surroundings. And when we say concrete jungle, at once you realize that this is not natural. And so when we are speaking of butterflies in the concrete jungle, it means that we are talking about butterflies in a non-natural setting. So, and yet they are there. So we have them flitting in and out, and I'm sure you have seen all those colors. Perhaps you don't know what they are. But today I hope to introduce you to some of them so that next time you see the common ones, you will at least know what is their name. Because see, if you know a name, you are more closely associated with that. So if you don't know some stranger on the road, you are not attached to that person. But once you know someone by name, you at once start getting attached. You want to know more about them. You want to know how they are. Are they okay? So when we talk about butterflies, and I give you a few names, I hope you will remember them next time you see them. So another thing I also wanted to say was that, yes, as Sir said, zoology is zoology and botany. These this is something that as an educator, it was brought home to me very strongly, maybe a decade back, that I could not be teaching certain things in the classroom. I have to come out of the classroom. I have to go out. I have to be among the trees. I have to be among the grass, among the insects, to be able to speak, to be able to teach something about nature. I cannot be sitting in the classroom and drawing animals on the blackboard. It seemed meaningless. And so a lot of my classes started happening outside. So that's how I am, I'm privileged to also be known as a nature educator, because I make use of what is there outside and try to bring in certain concepts, and students learn better that way. So I just wanted to share a few of my experiences, but let me get on to the main topic. As a teacher, I have this habit of speaking too much. So in case I exceed the time allotted to me, please let me know about 5 minutes beforehand. So my topic on butterflies in the concrete jungle. So we may be in the concrete jungle, but we still have these beautiful butterflies around us. So let's get to know them a bit before talking about the concrete jungle aspect. So this picture that you see, this is something that I tried out recently. I just put it on my WhatsApp AI, Meta AI. I said, give me a picture of a girl holding a butterfly with a skyscraper at the background. And this is something that Meta AI has generated. So as a teacher, I feel very thrilled that I can put in all kinds of things and get pictures to, show my students. Another interesting picture, which I did generate, but I've not included it here, I wanted a soldier termite holding a spear, and it showed me that too. So we are living in a world where so much is possible. We can use AI to generate things, to learn new things, and I hope that we can use that in our study of nature as well. So butterflies belong to the scaly winged insects category, the order Lepidoptera, along with moths. Now this question of butterflies and moths is an old one, but I would like to just stop here by saying that, butterflies are types of moths only. So let's not differentiate between them too much. At the most, one is nocturnal and the other is diurnal. So we see butterflies more than we see moths, but butterflies are a type of moth. So the colors that we see, we call them by various names. We say winged wonders, we say flying jewels. That's because of the beautiful colors of these day-flying creatures. And those colors come because of the scales on them. So these tiny scales made of chitin, protein, and they may be having pigments in them, but some butterflies don't even have pigments in their scales, and yet they show so many colors. That's because of structural coloration, the way in which the scales are arranged. And so when light hits the butterfly and reflects onto our eye, depending upon what is the angle of reflection, the color looks different. So worldwide, there are about 20,000 species of butterflies. In India, we have 1350 plus. In South India, 336 plus. Only Tamil Nadu, 326 plus. Chennai, 150 plus. So this is a bit of numbers relating to butterflies. These are the major families under which we have classified butterflies. Swallowtails, Papilionidae, Pieridae are the ones which look white or yellow. You must have seen them on campus. There are blues. What are these blues? They don't look blue, but when they open their wings, they are blue. So they may be, when they are closed, they folded their wings, they may not look blue. So blues, these are the tiny ones usually. Then skippers. Skippers are said to be closest to what's looking like a moth. Right now, July to August is a time when you will find many skippers. Then the brush-footed butterflies or the nymphalids. Now these nymphalids are, if you, for example, suppose you were to do a count of the number of butterflies from different families that are found on your campus, you would definitely find that the nymphalids are maximum in number. That's the usual case everywhere. So nymphalids will be the maximum, followed by the lycaenids. The ones which are on top, that is the papilionids, these are the bigger butterflies. They're called swallowtails because they have a small projection like a tail behind their hind wing. And some of the big butterflies which are extremely beautiful and which are also much in demand by illegal traders belong to that category. Some of the most beautiful butterflies in India include the Kesare Hind, the Bhutan Glory. These are smuggled. And that's another reason for many of their numbers coming down. Just to give you some of the names here, the one you see on the extreme right, next to the hibiscus, is called the lime swallowtail. The one in the center, which looks like yellow with black spots, is called the common leopard. And this one is called the spotted flat. So you can see a caterpillar on the left. This is a very common scene, especially if you have karvapala in your house, kadi patta, because this is both the lime swallowtail, the one you see on the right, that lays its eggs on the kadi patta plant, and this is what the caterpillar looks like. And just to point out to you that the caterpillar shows a defensive strategy. It looks like bird droppings. So this is to avoid being seen by predators. So I've just given you a brief background about butterflies. All of you, I'm sure, are aware about the life cycle of a butterfly. I will not go into details about that. So there's it undergoes what is called as complete metamorphosis. So you have the egg hatching out to form the caterpillar. The caterpillar keeps on eating the leaves of its host plant, or it could be the bud in which it is the egg was dropped, or so it's basically an eater, and its size keeps growing. There are 5 instars, and it finally pupates. So it finally pupates, and the pupa then ecloses to form the adult butterfly. So there were questions, sometimes children ask questions like, has this butterfly not grown big enough? Is one of the questions I get asked. That's not true, because the juvenile stage of a butterfly, it's not like us growing from a small baby to a big adult. So the maximum, as soon as the adult ecloses, that's the maximum size. It's not going to grow further. And if you find certain butterflies, as we have been seeing, certain butterflies we thought, okay, this one is a big one. Why is it looking so small now? It could be due to some variation in the environment that makes a usually big butterfly look small. So it's not going to grow bigger. So this is the striped tiger butterfly that you see, the life cycle. And this looks very much like the monarch butterfly. If some of you are familiar with the monarch butterfly, which undergoes such a brilliant migration, nearly 6,000 kilometers it travels from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico and also to California, and to escape the cold winters in the north. So the striped tiger butterfly that we see in India looks very much like the monarch, but that's not the monarch. So here are a few ways in which butterflies are useful into the ecosystem. They are the prey for many animals. They have a lot of, they're very beautiful, so aesthetic value, scientific value, educational value. Butterfly tourism is a very big thing, in case you're not aware of it. There are places in the Northeast and in the Western Ghats where people spend thousands of rupees, especially, some people are really crazy for butterfly photography. And they especially go to these areas. For example, there is Arunachal, Namdafa, all these places which have boast many special endemic species of butterflies which are not found anywhere else. And so tourism is a very big thing. And that's good too, because we want to conserve the butterflies, and who better to conserve butterflies than people who live next to it? And these people are earning their living by catering to the tourists. So tourism is a big thing now. Butterfly photography is a very big thing. So these are money spinners and provide employment to a lot of people. But making butterfly gardens is also becoming a very big thing now. So we have colleges, for example, Queen Mary's College, Dr. Bhavani has, in fact, she has created a butterfly garden there. And like this, there are many places. Now in Vandalur Zoo, if you've been there, there's a special butterfly garden. You go to Trichy, there is a butterfly garden. So every place is now coming up with a butterfly garden, because one is you can charge people who come in to the gardens some amount of money so that they can see all these creatures and enjoy themselves. At the same time, you are also trying to add to the population of butterflies. But here, one thing I want to say, most of these butterflies which grow naturally in these gardens are the most common species. If you look at very specialist butterflies, which will only grow on certain plants or which require some particular habitat, they will not be growing in these gardens. So, but anyway, it's a good sign that more awareness is being created about these creatures just by having these butterfly parks and gardens. They are very good bioindicators. As you know, you want to have a butterfly in your neighborhood, you should have some plants which will have flowers giving them nectar. You should have some plants on which they can lay their eggs specifically. Now, that's very specific. Butterflies are very specific about the plants on which they can lay their eggs. So you just provide them with these two, they will be there. They will not go anywhere. They will be coming around that place because nectar is available, host plant is available. And so if you give them good quality of plants, they will all survive. And that means that your ecosystem is a good one. So they are ecosystem indicators. If you don't find a butterfly that you have been seeing for many years in a particular place, it would mean something is not correct there. So is that plant not there? Is the soil full of herbicides or pesticides? What is the problem that we have to check out if a particular butterfly is missing from a regular place? And because they have a short life cycle, you can at once make out if there is a change in the environment. Now here again, I'm going to just introduce you to some of these creatures, some of these butterflies. The one you see below, someone is photographing it, that's called the common nawab. It's not a very common butterfly. What we find a lot of common, they'll say, but many of them are not common at all. So that is a common nawab. This one on the left is the biggest butterfly in peninsular India. It's called the southern birdwing. It's a papilionid. I told you big butterflies come under family Papilionidae. The biggest butterfly in India also looks very much like the southern birdwing, but it's found in the north, Uttarakhand. So that's called the common birdwing. And when I say biggest, so which means it will span like, 1.5 times this, the wingspan. So that's a really big butterfly. Now, why should we study about butterflies? Here are a few reasons. One big reason, which I as a nature educator always am pushing for, is once you start getting interested in one particular organism, you start getting interested in the entire natural world. Because the same thing has happened with many of us. Usually many people go into bird watching and then they start getting interested in other things. For me, it has been the opposite. Started with butterflies and now I'm interested in everything else. That's because no animal is isolated from its environment, from other species. That butterfly is interacting with everything else in your environment. And so our interest in that everything else also grows. So one of the things which I am especially going to be talking about is this one. We can understand how they adapt themselves. So when I say if you just need to have nectaring plant and a host plant, so what does that mean? It means that wherever you can have nectaring and host plants, you'll have butterflies. So you find them in every habitat. You look here, desert, even the Arctic. So these, I'm sure all of you know that these are what are called as cold-blooded animals. So which means that if they want to become active, they need to warm up. So you may have seen that you don't see butterflies, before 5 o'clock or something, 5 a.m. because it's pretty cool that time. So, so as a result of which, you find that when I say Arctic, you may think, how can it live in the Arctic where it's so cold? So there are adaptations that these organisms show. For example, they have antifreeze ethylene glycol in their body fluid that makes them survive even under such conditions. So these are the major habitats, but these are not found in our cities. So what is found in our cities is what I would call as microhabitat. For example, in your college, I found a few gardens, there was a small pond. Now each of that would be a microhabitat. A tree, a fallen log of wood could be a microhabitat. You have a patch of grass, that's a microhabitat. Now these are what are making the butterflies survive even in the urban spaces. So they need, you see here the one on, very common, these two are very common butterflies. The one on the left is called the mottled emigrant. I'm sure you've seen this around. And the one on the right is actually, sorry, that's the crimson rose, not the common rose. That's wrong there. So we always talk about butterflies nectaring, feeding on nectar from flowers, but that's not all that they feed on. Many of them are actually known to feed on dead animals. They feed on rotten fruits. They feed on fecal matter. So we have all kinds of food which butterflies may be interested in. Different species, of course. So here are some pictures of them feeding on other things. So the picture on the right is something which I had put out in my garden. This was mashed bananas and pineapple. And I was very hopeful that it would attract butterflies, but no, sorry, it did not. Another thing that we have in the urban spaces is wet soil. This is another requirement for butterflies. What you see here is butterflies of a single species and also of other species. Together they will come and carry out this behavior. This is called mud puddling. Now, what exactly do they do when they mud puddle? You know that the butterflies have a mouth part which is called a proboscis. It's like a straw. And this straw is, in fact, they say that our idea of how to make a straw came from the butterfly. So our straw is actually an example of biomimicry, where we have made a straw based upon something that was found in a butterfly. So what does it do when you go to a soil? It's going to be sucking up the salt solutions from the soil. And why does it do that? We find that mainly male butterflies are doing that. They mud puddle. The reason being that when male butterflies mud puddle, that salt goes into making spermatophores, which is sperm packets. And then this spermatophore, the sperm packets, are transferred to the female butterflies during mating. And it is considered to be, you will hear this word with respect to mud puddling, nuptial gift. It means that it's a gift given by the male butterfly to the female butterfly. In what way is that a gift? The salts in the spermatophores will be used by the female butterfly to make stronger eggs. So you see here that in urban spaces, we are providing gardens, you have wet soil. So you'll find butterflies mud puddling. You won't see them in urban spaces in such huge numbers, but yes, maybe 2s and 3s, you will find them sipping at the liquid salt solution from the soil. And it's not just soil, because we are talking about a concrete jungle. You may even find them sipping at liquid from a cement floor which is wet. Please note this, because it means it's adapted. It's adapted to what is available in the urban area. So these are the sites. You'll mostly find them in forests in such huge numbers, next to some streams or some such thing. You won't find them in such huge numbers mud puddling in the urban environment. Another thing which you may find them doing is suddenly you will see huge clusters of these butterflies on particular plants. If you have heliotropium in your campus, if you have crotalaria, These are plants where you will find these particular butterflies. Now, which are these butterflies? They're very common. Again, the one which is brown with white spots, that's called the common crow. And there is also something which looks very similar. It's called the double-branded crow. The one which looks blue and black is the blue tiger. And there's one more called, which is very similar. It's called dark blue tiger. Then there is the other butterflies called plain tiger. You have seen striped tiger. These butterflies all belong to this kind of family called Danainae. And all of them are crazy about these plants. Now, what are they doing with these plants? They are taking in poisons. They're taking in something called alkaloids, which they render harmless in their body, and then they convert it into pheromones. And the pheromones are used by these butterflies to attract the opposite sex. So you see, these plants are also very important because not having them would mean no pheromones, no attraction between the two sexes, and hence no future generation. So these plants are also extremely important. I just want to mention here that I'm not sure how many of you are aware that there is a very big butterfly migration going on currently within the last 2-3 days, where huge thousands of butterflies have been seen moving along the coast from north to south. So these are the ones that usually move, the ones that you see here on the picture. That's the common crow. I hope you can see something like called a hair pencil sticking out from the tip of its abdomen. That is how it releases its pheromone. This is a male common crow butterfly. I've just put this here. I'm not going to tell you too much about this. These are the most common butterflies. I don't know how many of you have seen all these, but these are very, very common in the urban spaces. I especially want to point out the one in the middle on the right, that is called the common Jezebel. It's a very beautiful butterfly. It's white when it opens its wings. When it's closed, that's what it looks like, yellow with red on the tips. Why I'm especially mentioning this was about 4 years back, there was, they had sent out a form where it said that we want to choose a national butterfly for India. And so one among the butterflies, common Jezebel was one of them. And others were butterflies which are not found everywhere in India. That includes what are called the peacock butterflies and so on. I believe this common Jezebel came out as the winner, but they have not officially announced it as the national butterfly because of the name Jezebel, which has some negative connotations. So we still don't have a national butterfly, in spite of voting for it. So these are the other common butterflies. The first 2 rows are nymphalids. These are the ones which are most commonly found in the cities. So basically we can say that these butterflies, the pictures of which I put out here, are found in disturbed environment like in cities. These are some animals that prey on butterflies. Very commonly you will find spiders catching butterflies, praying mantis. Other animals like monkeys are known to feed on butterflies. And another reason for butterfly populations not being as many as you would expect is parasitoids. Wasps are known to carry away butterfly caterpillars to feed their young. And wasps are known to parasitize caterpillars and pupae as well. So they lay their eggs inside the caterpillar or inside the pupa, and the pupa is, dies. The pupa of the butterfly dies because the wasp young, when they come out of the eggs, they will feed on it. So that's another way in which, natural decline of butterflies happens. So here, the one in the center, I would like to point this out to you. This is a blue, this is actually a nymphalid butterfly, but look at the blue color. This is one of those butterflies whose blue color is not due to pigments. I hope you know that blue is a very rare pigment in nature. Hardly will you find a blue pigment. But the blue is because of the way in which the scales are arranged, and so the way in which the light is hitting your eye. If you keep moving from left to right, looking at this butterfly, you will find that the color keeps changing. That's because the scale, the structural coloration is what is responsible for the color. You see striped tiger on the extreme right. So these are some threats to butterflies, and all of them are affecting them in the cities as well. That green dragon tail is not found in the south, it's found in Arunachal Pradesh. We are the biggest enemy of these creatures. Now, what are the various challenges that we find these butterflies face in the urban environment? It's habitat loss, not enough food source, pollution, and limited microhabitats. But these are very reasons why we also find butterflies. How? Because they, whatever small, you have a balcony garden. You have just a few plants in your balcony, that's enough to attract a few of them. You have a rooftop garden. These are small green spaces that you could, encourage making. You have a small, just few plants next to your house could attract butterflies. So it's, but once again, not the specialist butterflies, these are general ones, which you will find everywhere, but at least you are doing something for them. So one thing that you'll notice, both the plants that I have put here and where you will find the butterfly nectaring, these are invasive species. The one at the bottom is lantana. The one on the top is tridax. And they always say, these are considered as weeds, remove them, they say. But, I'm part of a group called the Nature and Butterfly Society group. And all of us shared photographs of, the butterflies that we had seen feeding on tridax flower, and the number came to 120 species. So perhaps it's a good idea not to remove tridax. So when we think of, making a butterfly garden, I think the weeds should also be there. What we call as weeds should also be there, because they are attracting these butterflies too. So that's what, I don't want to again touch on this. We have talked about green spaces. So we have to reduce pesticide use, provide water sources, plant native plants. Yes, plant native plants, but also look for some invasive plants, which they come to. Now, these are some of the very common larval host plants. I have seen Polyalthia, you have lots in your campus, lots you have. So Polyalthia is right there outside this room itself. It's been planted in rows. There are 3 species of butterfly which make, you will probably see them around these plants. They lay their eggs on them. These are common blue bottle, common tailed jay. Spot-sword tail, very rarely do we see it here, but yes, it has been seen. 2019, we had a huge population of spot swordtail in Chennai as well. Then citrus species, curry leaf, Aristolochia, cassia, calotropis. These are very common plants which can host different species of butterflies. So here you can see some of the common ones. Already I've shown you. That's plain tiger. This is common rose. This is Jezebel. That's dark blue tiger. We can also keep out rotten fruits to attract butterflies. So whichever likes them. For example, there is one butterfly called the common evening brown. As the name suggests, it's found, it is active only during the evenings. And this is seen to be attracted to fruits, rotting fruits. So you can have that. So if you are, now that I'm talking about how it would be good to have butterfly gardens in urban spaces, here are some do's and don'ts. So you can read some of them, but I would just want to point out that it's very nice to think, okay, if I have nectaring plants, if I have host plants, let's all put it together and I'll get all the butterflies. It may not be a good idea to club both the plants together. They should be spread out. because if both the plants are together, the entire population will be in one place. And that's not good, because if some disease breaks out, everything will go. So if you have a butterfly coming to one place to nectar and moving away to go to another place to lay its eggs, that would be a better deal. And so these are a few things. Of course, we should be very eco-friendly practices should be followed. No use of pesticides and all weedicides in the butterfly gardens. So these are certain other ways in which we can conserve butterflies. The governments of various states have also tried to do their part. And what you see here are, except for the Tamil yeoman, all the others, these are all state butterflies of various states, whoever has come up with it. I think one I have not added, which came up recently, but anyway, these are called as flagship species. So if something is declared a flagship species, it means that that particular state is going to go all out to protect that species. And so all the habitats, all the host plants of that butterfly will be protected. All of them are papillonids. Look at southern birdwing Karnataka, common peacock Uttarakhand, blue mormon Maharashtra. Maharashtra was the first state to come up with a state butterfly. Tamil yeoman, Tamil Nadu, Malabar banded peacock, Kerala. So Tamil yeoman is the only of these species which is a nymphalid. Jammu and Kashmir has now, I think a couple of months back, declared blue pansy as their state butterfly. So all this helps because it brings to us, all lay people, okay, this is a butterfly that is representing our state. So you can give some importance to it and its habitat. So by creating these, announcing the state butterflies also helps in conservation. I have also put in a few other things like be part of citizen science projects. What does that mean? I'll just tell you. Document and submit to iNaturalist, I found butterflies, etc. So these are citizen science portals. Now, what does citizen science mean? It means that it need not be that you're not a zoologist, doesn't matter. You can belong to any field, but you can contribute to science. So those are citizen scientists. So we have portals like iNaturalist, where you can just take a picture, upload the picture, you get the ID. There are many people looking at your pictures and they'll give you the ID. And this way you can learn to document many species, including butterflies, many other species. I want to also just give an example of certain projects which other countries have also done to conserve butterflies. I think you know about Singapore airport. They have a separate place where they have a butterfly garden within the airport. And here, of course, in a very controlled environment, they have recreated a butterfly garden and they take good care of, all the plants and butterflies. But Singapore has also come up with what is called as a butterfly corridor project. So where in the island of Sentosa, there is one, garden. And then one major problem in urban spaces is fragmentation. It means you don't have plants continuously. You have plant, then you have building, then you have plant, then you have buildings. So how can the butterfly cross the building? So I'm just putting it rather simply. The thing to do is somehow create a garden somewhere on the building itself so that a butterfly can fly to that garden and then move on to the next garden. So that would be a butterfly corridor. So they have done that. UK has come up with something called Living Landscape Project. I hope you can see the picture on the left. You can see how many gardens are there. And all the gardens are connected. So once again, this is a way to see that butterflies have places where they can move to. And Yorktown in New York City, they have a project as well for monarchs, for revival of monarch butterflies. So many towns and cities are coming up with such projects to conserve butterflies in the urban environment. So this is something I was just telling you about, butterfly migration. And why I put this here is because it's a citizen science project. You know that butterflies, I just told you how from Canada they are moving down to the Gulf of Mexico. But when they move, they'll need host plants, they'll need nectaring plants. So people have come forward and they have grown host and nectaring plants in their own gardens, so that when the monarch butterfly comes to rest, it has a place to nectar, it has a place where it can lay its eggs and so on. So here is how citizens are helping the monarch butterfly numbers to try to come up with it. And on the right, we have another not formal citizen science project, but yes, something going on. You can see that's India there, and we are talking about east-west migration of butterflies in India. And this is what I just told you. 3 days back, people have reported butterflies moving north to south. 1 month back, they reported butterflies moving south to north. Why are these butterflies moving? Because it's a predictor of rains. Heavy rainfall is going to come, they'll move away from there before us. So they are known, they are zoo indicators. They know much before us what's going to happen. So by looking at these kind of movements and behavior of butterflies, a lot can be learned. And so that's a part, so there is a WhatsApp group, it's called Butterfly Migration Group. So if I am standing here in front of QMC and I see 1,000 butterflies, common crows moving, I'll at once put it up in the group and say it's moving from, from this part to this part. And someone at Adayar, they will see the same group moving and they'll say it just passed now. So in this way, we are also contributing. We are all citizen scientists. This way, we are adding to the knowledge relating to migration. Finally, how can we involve community in butterfly conservation? I've just told you about citizen science. And one of the very good ways in which we personally in our college have found to get people interested in butterflies is to have butterfly walks. We have that right in campus. Sometimes I also help out with the Madras Naturalist Society, arranging butterfly walks for them as well. And this has created an enormous interest in these insects, because we find that, these are just not something which are flying around here and there, but each of these butterflies has a life. It has some unique behavior that gets all the students really interested, and they want to know more. And that is the beginning of, engaging them with nature. So finally, to conclude, it's obvious that since we are finding so many species of butterflies in such, in an unnatural environment for them, it shows that they are very resilient. They are able to adapt themselves. And the fact that they are there shows that, okay, there is something good only about our surroundings. I'm not saying that, we can continue to fragment our surroundings. I'm just saying that what is there, they are able to adapt to that. So that's a good sign. And, but however, we have to create new spaces, new green spaces. We have to maintain those green spaces. We can't just make one garden and then forget about it. It has to be taken care of. However, always we find that if you have a garden, don't make the garden too, artificial and manicured. Let some weeds grow. Let it grow. Let it grow wild. If it grows wild, you're going to be attracting more species to your garden. And the fact that the butterflies are still thriving also goes a long way in telling the others that, maybe conservation planning everywhere is not a lost case, that people are planning gardens keeping these creatures in mind. I hope you've heard of Maya Angelou, who said that, now this butterfly is called the blue morpho butterfly. Again, it shows structural coloration. So which means if I move from left to right, the color is going to vary from purple to blue to brown to even pink. So Maya Angelou says, we delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. So we all want to do good, but I think all of us should realize to get that final product, we need to go through a lot of obstacles and challenges, which I'm sure we can go over and finally achieve our goal. So thank you very much for being such a rapt audience. I hope the rapt audience was not because principals said that, and I hope you actually were interested in the subject. So thank you once again for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Each time someone asks me to speak, I find I learn something new. So I'm going to stop with telling you what is the new thing that I learned when I started doing a bit of more research for this talk. I learned that in the UK, there was an experiment carried out to find out about pollinators. Now, butterflies are also pollinators. They wanted to compare whether the number of pollinators are more in the rural environment or are they more in the urban environment. And much to their surprise, they found that there are more pollinating insects in the urban environment. Now, why is that? That's because in the rural environment, when plants grow and then there is a drought, the plants die. So there is either bounty or there is drought. This you find in the rural environment. In the urban environment, there is always plenty. There is trash. There is, rotten fruits and vegetables that are just thrown here or there. This you will find throughout the year. And so we have more species pollinating in the urban environment than in the rural environment. This was an eye-opener to me because I thought maybe in a cropland or a farmland, there'll be more species. But this is what it has been found out, that actually there are more species in cities. So thank you very much, but not specialist species. I just want to make that clear. Specialist species will be found only in certain areas which we need to protect. Thank you.